this evening, and he ended up that he was going to be speaking at some kind of conference as the same time of our meeting. Can everybody hear me?
Got it. Yep.
And so then he wanted to beg off and send his or send other people who work for him. And I personally thought, nah, it's either all or nothing. I suspect I may have hurt his feelings last week when I brought up the $400 million police station, and I wasn't real happy about it. So that may have been what happened. I don't know. It's just a speculation. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We really don't have a whole lot on the agenda, but then we do have a whole lot on the agenda. We've got a lot going on in the city of Tampa right now. We've got the budget, and we've got they're working on the update on the comp plan. They're also working on the update on the LDC. And we've got a stormwater mess. And, oh, I could make a list as long as our arm. But Carol-Ann, you want to talk about, well, let's start out by, I don't know if everybody's seen Carol-Ann's presentations at some point in time or another. They've morphed a little bit and gotten better over time. And if anybody's got questions about it, more than happy to start with those and see if anybody would like more information. Carol-Ann and I met with Abby Feely and Melissa Zornita. When was that? Monday? Mm-hmm. And we had quite an interesting discussion. I think they figured out that yes, people do have opinions about the comp plan. And one of the first things they asked us was, well, you thought that people didn't know about the comp plan before? And we're like, yeah, no, nobody knew about it. And do you feel like everybody knows about it now? Well, a whole hell of a lot more people know about it now than knew about it 2 months ago. So, or in May. So that we were happy with those results for sure. Carol-Ann, you want to talk about it?
Well, I put together a PowerPoint tailored to South Tampa, and because that's what I know. And I presented it 5 times, 5 different meetings, and it was a neighborhood association that wanted to have the meeting, and I tended to tailor them to those neighborhoods. So I would have, zoom ins on that neighborhood. Anybody who would like a copy of my the latest PowerPoint version of it, just send us an email and we'll forward it to you. I don't know how much y'all understand it or how many questions you have about it, but they have to update it every 5 to 7 years, and it's time for it to be updated. And they made massive changes. Instead of doing, a small update or whatever, they've made massive changes. And I think they overreached. One of the big issues that I think is going to come out is that the population projection, my personal opinion is that it's going to end up being wrong. In 2023, the net we had so many people move out of the state of Florida that the net migration dropped 50%, which is the first drop of that kind of drastic drop in a decade. And that was before the 2024 storm season. So I think the net migration in 2024 and 2025 is going to continue that trend, because a lot of people who were affected by the hurricanes and the latter part of 24, if they're going to leave, they're not probably going to be able to do it until this year. So, and I think Stephanie has seen in her business as a property manager, it looks to me like our population is declining. So I don't think we need to be making drastic changes to accommodate a huge projection of population. I think that we can make some changes, and then when we have to do it again in 5 or 7 years, we can see what the new projections are and go from there, because This is a projection. The changes they're making are supposed to accommodate the population by 2045. That means we have 20 years to accommodate them. They're not all expected to move here next year. This is what's expected to move here over the next 20 years. So if 5 or 7 years from now, we find that, you know, they're wrong, that we haven't made enough accommodations, and yes, they're coming, and maybe more of them are coming, we'll still have time to add the potential for more density. So I think it's too much too fast. I also want to say there's a new monkey wrench in the works, this SB 180,
Right.
which personally I think is a giveaway to developers. They're saying that no comp plan changes can be made that are deemed more restrictive than what's in there now. And
They're talking about all code changes, not just comp plan.
well, I
Any
know, but
code
I'm focusing
Right.
on, yes,
Right.
it's more than just that. It's not just the comp plan. It's also the land development code, which is a problem because we're redoing our land development code. But some municipalities have finished their comp plan changes and have sent them to Tallahassee. It's called transmittal. They transmit them to Tallahassee for review. And several of them have been rejected in light of this new SB 180 because it's retroactive. So those municipalities who did what they were supposed to do and they did it on time, it's been rejected, and now it's really, really causing a lot of chaos and disruption. So we don't know what's going to happen with ours. August 28th, it's going before City Council. And one of the things they're going to talk about is going ahead and transmitting it to Tallahassee, because that has to be done. And we can make changes to it after that transmittal. The version we transmit to them doesn't have to be the final version. And by doing it now, we can start to get an idea of what they will and won't approve. And we can move it along so that as we tweak this, we're not subject to months-long delays. I personally think it's okay to transmit it as long as we're able to make changes after the 28th. That's my personal opinion. I also think that we should not just vote it down. People don't realize the land use section of the comp plan is massive. It's over 400 pages. And a lot of the changes they've made are not changes that I have a problem with. A lot of them are just, they're fine. You know, I don't have an issue with them. There are some changes in there I like, but I don't have time to talk about the changes I don't like and the changes I like, because it's too big. It's just too big to deal with. So there's some things in there I'd like, and I'd like to see those things get passed. So I would like to just focus on the things that are a problem in my mind. And again, I only have knowledge of my neck of the woods. So I have used my expertise on my neck of the woods, informed my PowerPoint and my opinions and my priorities. I don't know what other neighborhoods need. I don't know what your problems are or aren't, or what you do or don't want. And so that's what you're going to have to tell City Council. But anyhow, I just like to focus on the issues that I think are a problem, and not just say, no, go back to the drawing board. I see Sandy has her hand raised.
Right. Well, my opinion is contrary to yours as far as letting it go as it is and waiting for it to come back. There are too many things on that comp plan that people do not like. And I think if you send it to it in the form it is now, the state thinks, well, if they must like what it is, so why make any changes? I think some of the changes that you're talking about that you think, you know, we should push, I think we should push those, because like you said, it's 445 pages. Well, it's overwhelming. It's an overreaction, a knee-jerk reaction to something that doesn't have to happen. And one of my biggest things, and you'll probably get an email from me soon, is that transit-ready corridors. That really, really upset me. Those transit-ready corridors imply that there is some kind of transportation plan in place, and there isn't. There isn't even a study for mass transportation. So I have a problem right off the bat, just with them using, I don't know what other word they could use, but those streets that they have picked are not transit ready. We keep thinking, and when you listen to city council, we keep thinking that Hart is the answer and the trolley is the answer. It is not. With our traffic problems, just think about it. If you add density, let's say just to Dale Mabry, and let's pick a corner, Dale Mabry and Kennedy, okay? You add density to that. You don't even have room for a bus trail to go down Dale Mabry to go from McDill Avenue to Carrollwood. The traffic is backed up so much that they can never be on time. And if the bus are not on time, if they not keep their schedules, then people are late for work. People can't rely on them. I think we need mass transportation, but I think it's going to have to be rail, and it's going to have to be in the air. And that's just my opinion. I have nothing to back it, but I do know that I watch a lot of foreign movie. I was telling Stephanie the other day, and they have huge areas of high density, but they also have avenues, wide avenues where they not only have buses, they have rail, they have people on bicycles, they have people on cars, because they're large enough, because they planned ahead. We have not planned ahead. So I don't think that you could honestly call Dale Mabry, what's another one, Himes, Armenia, Howard. I mean, we already have trouble on Howard where you have cars parked on either side that you can't get out. Now, imagine if you're going to put mass transportation to those areas because of increasing the density. So that's one of my biggest complaints on it, is they're not looking at the overall picture. Look at your neighborhoods. Look at what the developers have done in your neighborhoods, where they've made 4-bedroom houses with a narrow 2-car garage with a little short driveway, no sidewalks. And then this is going to add to it, because they don't realize the descriptions they have for the transit ready corridors. Some of those descriptions actually reflect our neighborhood streets. They get so busy when someplace else, one of the busy streets, the bigger streets are backed up, they cut through our neighborhoods. So this does not take in, the whole thing does not take in the safety of our neighborhoods and the security of our neighborhoods. But I strongly encourage everybody to let the city council know what you think, whether, if some people are for it, and if you're for it, you need to let them know that too. So all I'm saying is you need to participate. We cannot keep quiet and let the city council think that everybody agrees on this, you know? So I think we need to participate in this, whether it's remotely, whether it's through emails. I think, you know, we have to let them know what you think.
Well, I want to say I agree with everything Sandy said. And when I was talking about transmitting it, I didn't clarify. I don't think it should be transmitted in the form that it is today. I think some changes need to be made before it's transmitted. I just don't think it has to be perfect before it's transmitted. But I agree with everything Sandy said. And I personally think that really the single biggest problem with the plan is the transit ready corridors. If you look at them, and if Stephanie shares my screen, I can, let me share my screen, I can do that. It's just massive. I mean, it's just unbelievable how many of them there are. And it's basically, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's essentially every bus route in the city. And I tried to count the other day real quickly, and I think there was like 20 of them. And that's absolutely nuts. I think that if, let me see, can you see it now?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, do you see it now? The transit ready corridor now?
Yep.
Okay. So look at how many of them there are. I mean, that's just absurd. So I think my suggestion to them was to cut it down, pick out 4, 5, 6, and start with those and see how it goes. Pick out the routes and the areas of the city where you're trying to direct the growth, and make a few transit ready corridors. I had a big long conversation with Adam Purcell yesterday, who's with transportation. I tried to get Jean Duncan to talk to me about it, and she had me talk to Adam. And he was saying that the West Shore is the biggest employment center in the city, the West Shore area, and it's one of the biggest in the state. Downtown is second. Yet our bus, he said, takes an hour to get from there to downtown, an hour. So you've already got the density. You've already got the employment. You've already got, these are 2 points on the map where you really need to transport people and you have the activity to justify it, yet the bus takes an hour. I mean, people just aren't going to use it. The 2 routes that he said that are the most important really to get going would be between the West Shore employment area and the airport and downtown and USF. Okay, start there. Make Florida Avenue. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know which ones you would choose. That's up to the experts. But I'm just throwing out there. If you took Florida or Nebraska, and you made those transit-ready corridors, Fowler, Fletcher, Bush, whatever, something, and you pick out a few and you make them transit-ready corridors, and then, like I said, see how it goes. Start there, and then in 5 or 7 years, if it's a good idea to add some more, then you can add them. But if you create them all now, you can't take them away. So let's just add a few now, and then maybe over time add more of them. But I think reducing the transit-ready corridors to just a handful would solve a lot of problems with this plan. You know, one of my other big problems with the plan is the automatic by right density increase across the board. That's huge and it's stupid. Let me find that and show it to you. So this is just South Tampa. All the magenta would get an immediate increase in their by right density, and it's the whole city. It's crazy for no reason. And Sandy pointed out to me, and I thought this was a very valid point. A lot of these corridors, and I'm going to use this map as an example, like you've got Henderson, you've got Dale Mabry, Gandy, you've got Howard, here's Kennedy, all these areas here. There's a lot of small businesses there, a lot of commercial, a lot of retail, a lot of restaurants. If all of a sudden they can, it's more profitable to tear down those buildings and build townhouses or some sort of residential instead, it's really going to hurt small business owners, and it's going to take away the amenities we love. And there's no reason to do it. They keep saying that they have these targeted areas where they want to direct growth. I mean, the bottom line is they need to take a scalpel and very strategically carve out the areas of the city where they want to direct the growth, and either and incentivize the growth there, make it a transit ready corridor, give them bonuses, maybe increase their by right density, or a combination of those things. But this huge change that they're proposing, these massive, I just can't get over how big the transit ready corridors and how many of them there are. It's absurd.
Raise hand. Go ahead, raise hand.
Rick, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I really like everything Carol Ann's been saying. And I think we have way too many transit-ready corridors. It's like having too many irons in the fire. If we could focus on the key ones. Now, Route 1 for the bus is great in terms of connecting downtown with USF, but I really think it should have its own lane, and there should be some express ones too, because it is quite a long ride from one to the other. I'm not aware of whether there's any meat behind the airport proposal to put in a monorail or something like that between the airport and downtown, but it would make sense if they do it to swing a branch over to West Shore then and tie that in. But having so many transit-ready corridors in a way means you don't have any. You have too much lack of focus.
I agree with you 100%. And I want to point out something else. Another thing that a lot of people have struggled with is the duplexes and townhouses in R10. Again, this is from my PowerPoint which are tailored to South Tampa, but I have the maps for the whole city. And there was just a lot of encroachment into neighborhoods that doesn't make sense. And it's interesting because one of the neighborhoods pointed out to us the problems, and here I'm going to show you this right here. If you can see these townhomes in the corner, you see the garages and the driveways in the front, you see all the curb cuts. Well, what it ended up creating was that some of these streets end up with no street parking at all. And people need them sometimes for their families, they're for visitors, tradespeople like plumbers and electricians, lawn care trucks, Amazon, FedEx, and they end up with no parking on the street whatsoever. Whereas if you look at the other one, they have the parking in the back. I assume these townhouses have alley access, and they have the parking in the back, and so they have no curb cuts. And so I think that their effort to create places you could build townhouses in R10, and let me remind you, we're only talking about R10, because you can build townhouses in R20 and R35 and places like that. They can already do that. There are zoning categories to do that. This was all an effort to have more townhouses in R10. Well, Debbie Zommerman, who I think is a very smart lady, suggested that if the townhouses in R10 were limited to arterial and collector roads, which are the main roads, and they had to have alley access, that would allow some limited townhomes in R10, but it wouldn't be overextending the way the current plan does. And if you reduce the TRCs, so you had, let's say, 4 TRCs, you could even say R10, you could go back to the language where it says townhouses can be built in R10 with an 1/8 of a mile of a TRC. Well, if you've only got 3 or 4 TRCs, you can put that language back in. So you say in R10, townhouses can be built if it's within an 1/8 of a mile of a TRC, it's on an arterial or collector, and it has alley access. So I think a key to a lot of the problems people have is, like Sandy said, the TRCs. It's just too much.
Also, if you'll notice the one on top, now those have got to be at least 3-bedroom, and those are 1-car garages. And look at the length of the driveways. That's a perfect example of some of the things that they try to do. And I know that Alan Clendenin has backed us on trying to make larger the 2-car garages and the longer driveways, but he's getting resistance. He's getting resistance for it. But it's the only thing that's going to protect our neighborhoods. One of the other things that has come up, I've been to 4 of the meetings, and one of the things is there are some communities that want the increased density. And I understand there are areas in Tampa Heights. There are some areas actually in Seminole Heights. There's Palmetto Beach. There's also Sulphur Springs. And of course, anything in the university area. Well, it seems to me that they should start in those places that want it. And those places that want it, let's try that first. Because the surprise to me is I haven't been down, and I've told Carol Ann and Stephanie, down Nebraska in years. And I went down Nebraska, and between Hillsborough, all the way up Nebraska up to probably Bush, I couldn't believe the new apartment buildings that are up there that are on both sides of Nebraska. Then I went even further north, north of, I don't know if it's Fletcher or Flower, the one that's north, and there's all kinds of apartments up there for rent, with for rent signs. And some of them actually have affordability signs for AMIs 60 to 80%. I mean, they're actually advertising that. And nobody ever tells us about those. Nobody ever tells us about those. So those are the things. They haven't been truthful with us about what we need. There are all kinds of reports we have slowly found out about that are available. Carol Ann, the one from JC, which I requested, we haven't gotten it yet, which actually tells the amount of units that are ready per year. That's one of the ones. Stephanie got a report on some of the apartments for 50 and above, how many of those are available are there? We have an enormous amount of housing that's available that they're not willing to give us credit for. The other thing is I have a big problem with what they call the bonuses. The bonuses are for the developers that are going to make money. There are no bonuses for those of us who invested in Tampa for years and years and years to protect our property. One of the things that's happening also now at North Hyde Park is having this problem especially is people have put in the expensive solar panels and now they're putting 2- and 3-story condos next to them, and now the solar panels don't work because the sun can't get there. And I've had a smaller problem as far as the sun for my garden. Luckily, the back garden is fine, but the front, my dawn to dusk lights stay on 24 hours a day because that's how dark it is up there now. And those are things that the comp plan doesn't address, and they keep blaming it on the land development code. That's the land development code. Well, the comp plan can't destroy our neighborhoods and expect the land development codes to take over and make them right. There has to be some kind of compromise there. They need to understand what the problems are, our parking problems, our traffic problems, and they need to address them. When you open that comprehensive plan, it gives you all these wonderful things that the comprehensive plan, the amenities that you're missing in your neighborhood and all this other kind of stuff. Well, guess what? I'm an older neighborhood and I'm not missing one damn thing. We have everything we need. We have dry cleaners, we have doctors, we have dentists, we have gyms. I mean, you know, we have that. We have that in place.
You got a gas station, which is more than we have.
Exactly.
You got a grocery store, more than we have.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, and you don't want to, and I'm sure because of my age, people think, oh, you just don't want to have progress. I do want to have progress. My neighborhood has increased by 65 homes just in the last 2 years. That we've had, where there was one house, now there are duplexes or a triplex there. We have embraced those that make sense and are responsible. Okay? We haven't been able to control the size of the driveways and the size of the garages yet, but we're working on that. But we will be able to make sure that there's developers that came and wanted to go from RM 16 or 18 to PD. We fought those. Do what you can and keep it within RM 16 and 18. Make it something that makes sense in the neighborhood. Don't overkill. My little house, built in 1942, next door to me, the house next door to me went for $1.2 million last week. Unbelievable. My parents paid $9,000 for this house. But just to show you, it can be done. They can come in and put a duplex or a triplex, or as Stephen Benson said, even the quads were nice, where there's 2 up and 2 down, 2 apartments upstairs and 2 down. But it's too much. It's a detriment to the communities. It does nothing to keep our communities safe. So I just want to encourage you to attend the meeting somehow, whether it's in person, online, or by writing in to city council. They know that people are unhappy. I've talked to 3 or 4 of the city councilmen. They know that people are unhappy, but you need to help give them guidance about why you're unhappy. So I'm sorry, I took over, I'm sorry.
I just want to also say that one of the points I keep trying to make is that they're like, they keep trying to say they have to worry about legal challenges because it's not across the board. And I keep making the point, what's illegal is to take something away, take away property rights. Nobody's proposing that any property rights are taken away. What makes sense to me is to have what I call selective giving. We're going to give more. We're not taking anything away. So we're going to pinpoint areas of the city, maybe Drew Park, Palmetto Beach, Tampa Heights wants more density, Seminole Heights wants more. You target the areas that want more density, where it makes more sense, the University Planning District, whatever, and you give them more. There's nothing to stop our government from giving them more, whether it's by right density or bonuses or whatever it is they do that. I mean, maybe they need to create a new, like I'd said, you know, you could put more townhouses along a TRC if the TRCs were more limited. Well, also, why can't you just create a new category altogether and say, this area bounded by these streets, again, like I'm throwing Drew Park out there. I think Drew Park would be a great place to increase density. It's very close to the West Shore employment area. Draw some boundaries and say, give it a name. I don't care what you call it anything you want. And say, these areas, we're going to give them more potential for density. And that's to me the right way to do it. I see Dana Jasper asked, have they been asked why they considered rounding up versus rounding down? Well, I think it's because this entire plan that they've proposed has all been about creating density citywide, all over the city, with just this broad shotgun approach. Nothing at all specific, just a complete shotgun approach. Because they said to me one time, they go, the density has to go somewhere. So they just want to increase the capacity citywide. And that was one way to do it. Because like right now, if a piece of property, by the density limits of the future land use, you can only put 1.9 units there. You can only put 1. You can't round up. So they wanted to make it so that if it's 1.5 or higher, they could round up as long as it's not in the coastal high hazard area. It's all the main goals of this plan, as I see it, is to just sweeping density potential increases citywide, as though every part of the city is exactly the same, like it's just a clean slate and there's no uniqueness to any part of the city. I think it's a big mistake, and I do think we can't let it be transmitted without some major changes. These, we're going to have to come up with some emails and specify like what we think are a problem. And some of it can be, I think one of the biggest things is less TRCs, a whole lot less TRCs, just a handful. We can start with that. And the other thing is to just target the areas where they want to direct growth and give them more potential.
And no automatic bonus. Just because it says CMU 35 doesn't need 35 to start with.
They can
and then they can use bonus to get to 35.
I mean, if they wanted to take a little area, let's say, Drew Park, I keep saying that even though I really have no idea whether that's one of the areas they want to increase. And they want to say within this area, we are going to increase the buy right. I don't have a problem with that, as long as the neighborhood and the people who live there, the community who knows what their neighborhood needs, who knows the condition of the neighborhood, as long as they think it's a good idea. So these areas that want more growth, talk to those people, figure out some boundaries, and figure out a way to give it to them. I spoke to somebody at one of the meetings. They're like, well, these townhouses went 1/8 of a mile of a TRC. I would like for it to be bigger than that. I'm like, well, then give it to that area. That makes sense to me. They should have just gone neighborhood by neighborhood to begin with and found out where it made sense and where it was desirable, instead of just this, it's like they have no concept whatsoever of the city or the different parts of the city.
Rick and Diane had their hand up.
Sure. I guess there's every plan is sort of a study in failure. There's an old joke that way to make God laugh is to come up with a plan. It'd be interesting to look at the previous plans Tampa's had and see how far off the mark they've ended. I do know that there's an effort to try to get density to increase significantly in the university area, and that's been seen as a difficult boulder to move. I don't know what they need to do. Maybe they have to go beyond bonuses to get people to see that area as where the growth should happen. Diane looked at the community redevelopment plan for East Tampa pretty thoroughly, and there's a section which talks about 15 areas that the residents wanted to have changed or improved. It's probably a better way to say it, in East Tampa. And this was from 15 years ago. And these items that they mentioned are all still issues today. And it's 15 years later. None of the major concerns of the residents have been addressed, which makes you wonder if a plan is always bound to fail.
Sorry, that wasn't the CRP. That was a different study.
But it was part of the community. It was included
It
in
was
the
a different
CRP.
study. It's a different
What
study.
was the
It
study?
was called Envision.
Oh, and the Envision study?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, she spoke to Chief Bennett about these issues that have never been addressed, and they're still present today as top issues.
And I would offer that one of the big reasons, I mean, seriously, one of the biggest reasons why we keep seeing this beating our head against the wall because we're not getting what we need where we need it is because the city is too busy spending money on big, beautiful buildings that cost millions and millions of dollars and ignoring the requests, the studies. We did not have a planning department until 2020. So whatever happened before that, and of course, the planning department has been stripped down and they're hand tied behind their back, both of them at this point. And so it's nearly impossible to get anything done if that's how people are going to operate. And then, of course, now we have so much turnover in the last couple of years that it's impossible to figure out who's in charge of what.
Gotcha.
But the comp plan is still the comp plan, is still the comp plan. And did they follow the comp plan the entire time? That's debatable.
A lot of PDs, huh?
So I want to show you, I don't know, can you see my screen about the sizes and the flues?
The flues, yes.
So this is something that I think is important. And because what happens is people want the flues have a set of zoning categories underneath them that are allowed. And so what happens is someone buys a piece of property and let's say it's R35 and they want to build something and they look at the zoning categories and they want to exceed the limits. They want to exceed the height. They want to reduce the setbacks. They don't want the minimum size of the lot. They might, if they want to exceed the density, they can't. They have to get a new flue. They have to apply for a plan amendment to change the land use to get a higher level flue if they want to increase the density. But if they're not trying to increase the density, sometimes they want to build gigantic units that are going to go for millions of dollars. So they don't need to exceed the density. They don't need to exceed the number of units. What they need is to build a massive building with reduced setbacks and increased height. And the procedure for that is to get a plan amendment to a higher flue. But they're circumventing that because it takes time, it takes money, and it's very easy to get that denied. And so they circumvent that through this loophole, because like here, like if you look at R35 and R50, the comp plan says they're both mid-rise, they're both medium density. If you look at the zoning categories that are allowed in those flue, the highest, most intense zoning category in R35 is 60 feet height limit. The highest in R50 is 120 foot height limit. So what they'll do, instead of applying for R83, which has unlimited height, instead they'll apply for a PD because PDs have no height limits. So you've got these flues that may be low or medium rise flues, and they apply for a PD, and then they ask to put a 300-foot building there. They asked to have the setbacks reduced significantly. And they just say, oh, it's okay because there's big buildings nearby. Well, those big buildings nearby are likely on a higher intensity flue. That's why they're there. Or they were also used the loophole and did a PD to get the same thing. Well, that shouldn't be allowed because what ends up happening is neighborhoods end up having to wage massive battles that take ridiculous amounts of time and effort and cause all kinds of stress and anxiety to defeat it as a PD. And what I'm saying is that they shouldn't even be able to submit that application. There needs to be guardrails on the size of the flues, just like there's guardrails on the density of the flues. And if someone wants to build a high rise, I mean, the city has designated certain parcels as being appropriate for high rises. And look for the parcels that are designated R30, R83. Those are the parcels that are designated as a high rise. There's a couple of others too, but they're a little bit different. So I'm focusing on this one. And so this is something that we found out through the firefighters, and they presented this at city council. I think this is extremely interesting. And it's another reason to be concerned about this. So the fire department has a definition of a high rise, and it's however high a firefighter has to climb to get to the highest occupied floor. It's the floor of the highest occupied building, a level. So if the floor of the highest occupied story is 75 feet, it's considered a high rise. So they have a different set of standards for responding to alarms that are in a high rise. So if they have a single alarm at a high rise, no smoke or fire, and they gave the example of burnt toast, 43 firefighting personnel must respond to that. And all these blue X's I have on here, that's how many fire stations have to respond to a single alarm at a high rise, even if there's no smoke or fire. They're required to. If there's smoke or fire and it becomes a second alarm, they have to have a minimum of 80 personnel, which is the blue and the green. Now, if any of these stations are out on another call, they have to go farther afield to find the people to respond. And in the meantime, if you need firefighters, they're not going to be available because they've all had to go to this high rise. So someone could die because there's nobody available because they all had to respond to this alarm at a high rise. This is really scary. The standard is that if there's a single alarm in a high rise, they're supposed to be able to respond within 10 minutes and 10 seconds. So this map over here, you see the purple? Those are the only parts of the city where they can meet that standard. They can, if there's a high rise that's in the gray, the fire department today cannot meet the required response time for a high rise. So, and I want you to think, when you talk about budget, I want you to think of how much more money the fire department may need to have the capacity to respond to fires in a high rise. So in my opinion, high rises should be limited to the parcels of land that have been designated R83, like you saw in this one, where they're meant to be high rises. Limit them. Don't allow parcels of land that were never meant to have a high rise, use a loophole to get these massive buildings. I think this is really important.
Do you think we could have a quota system, Carol Ann? Would it make sense that a district set a ceiling, 5% of all the amendments or the changes requested in any year can be PD, but no more. So they have to be much more judicious in giving these out. It's not a free giveaway. It's only, let's say, a percentage or a quota for each area. So it kind of tames the PD beast in a way.
I don't know if that's the
state
best.
wouldn't allow that.
The state would never allow that. To me, for this particular issue, we need to have these high rise, mid rise, low rise. These things, they need to be honored. They need to be enforced. If they have to change the language, change the language. If you have a parcel that's designated R83, you can build a high rise there. Nobody can take that away from you. But I don't really think we should be putting high rises on anything that isn't already designated as an appropriate area, because I think it puts lives in danger, and I think it puts a tremendous financial burden on the residents to be able to accommodate that. I also want to notice, and this is the sort of little things that just sneak in the new comp plan, they propose to make R50 high rise instead of mid rise. Why would we approve that? I don't understand. Why would we want that? I disagree with that completely. But this is something that people aren't talking about, but I think it's important, because a lot of the stuff that you'll see neighborhoods object to, they object to because of the massive size of the buildings. because they want to reduce the setbacks, because they want to increase the height. And if they're not allowed to do that, then those problems just go away.
That's like the one on Bay Shore next to the, is it next to the garden club?
Exactly. That's R35. They wanted to build a 327-foot building. The highest intense zoning category in R35 allows 60 feet.
Wow.
And the amount of money and time and resources that have been spent fighting that because the comp plan doesn't prohibit it is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I agree
And
with
it's
that.
not just the resources of the neighborhoods who've spent a lot. The city's resources, the builder, the developer's resources, the property owner's resources. It's a giant suck of resources that should never have happened. If they want to build a high rise, get a plan amendment, get your flue changed. That's the intentional procedure that they're supposed to follow. Get rid
And I
of the-
think there's a right place for tall buildings. There's a right place for it, you know. I can't see them going up in East Tampa, to tell you the truth, but
Well,
Well,
it's not-
if you look at the land use map and you look at all the land use categories, and you can see the areas that have been designated for high rise. Okay, you can't take that away, even if you don't like it, but don't create any new ones. Limit it to that.
that's the I assume downtown, maybe
It's more than just
Water
downtown.
Street, Channel Side.
It's more than just downtown. I can't say that I know every one of them, but it's more than just downtown.
right, but here's an interesting little tidbit that we learned in the last 3, 4, 5 months is up until 7 stories, they can build out of plywood.
What?
So if you're building plywood up to 7 stories, is that any less dangerous than an 8 to 10 story steel and block building?
Is that a reinforced plywood, like extra thick?
Like
Well,
two
I
and
don't, I
We
couldn't
don't
tell
know
you.
the answer to that.
We just know that there's a higher building standard. There's a different set of standards once it gets to 8 stories, and they have to use concrete block. It's a different standard of building.
But can you
What if
imagine
the fire
living in a
hazard
7-story building? And, I did the math real quick. TFR processes about 90,000 calls a year. That's 247 a day. So if we pull that many off for one building with burnt toast, wow, we're going to be in big trouble.
Wow.
Does Sandy have her hand up again, or is this?
Yeah, just very quickly. For any of you that are going to write in, and if you're hesitant or you don't know how to put it in the right words or something, I suggest that you go into the survey. If you're going to the Comp 2045 and look at the survey,
It's closed.
Yeah,
Every-
close it Sunday.
every
Sunday.
Closed on Sunday, Sandy. It's closed. It closed Sunday.
No, not to do the survey. Can I finish what I was going to say?
But you
Sure.
can't get into it at all. But go ahead.
This afternoon, I went into the survey and I looked at the questions and the answers. Every question has about 200 answers, okay?
Wow.
So, but if
Oh.
you're having trouble putting something together, I'm not asking you to read 200 of them, but you can see the longer ones that they put in into their own words what their feelings are in it. And I was surprised at the people that were, actually very eloquent in what they had to say. So all I'm suggesting is if you're hesitant to write in and there's something particular that you want to talk about, more than likely they covered it on the survey on some of the things. But that would help you to egg you on to get that letter written. So like I said, that's just a suggestion.
Copy paste the response.
Where did you see this, Sandy? I'm on the page now. Where did you see this?
Go to the survey.
I don't see that. I'm on the main page. I don't see the survey on it.
I wasn't on this.
Supporting documents. Go up to the.
I wasn't on this page. It basically, It had the results of the survey is what it was.
Over on the
Result?
right-hand side, Carolyn, it
So
says,
I don't see survey over here.
let's see.
Feedback provided by the community, maybe? Here,
That
The
might
supporting,
that might
supporting
be-
documents?
that, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is it.
Okay.
So there's the question and there's all the answers.
Woo!
So this is old. This isn't the new survey. This is a previous survey.
Nevertheless, it does give you information there and what some people had to say.
I agree.
You know, all I'm saying is you can use it as a guideline. I don't think you should use it word for word, but just
Yeah. These
You know.
comments are from 2022.
Yeah, but they still could have good.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they should
There's
have,
no-
even though they're not
problem.
results of it, they should have something similar for the recent ones.
I'm sure they're working on compiling that now. I'm sure it's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions, concerns, comments?
I make a suggestion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
We don't have any minutes because we don't have a secretary. It seems like, I'll have to look. I will look and see.
It's okay. How about Dana's treasury report?
Yes, it's the exact same as it was in May, and it's from Pat, and it was $3,045 and some odd cents, I think. Pat, do you recall the exact number? I can look, but it was exactly the same as May.
Yes, it was 3,385.54
which is the same for May
and June.
and
It's-
June and July and August. We don't spend any money. Um,
Dana, the comment you made about the contradictory policies about bonus in the CHHA, you're absolutely correct. That's got to be fixed. Something's got to be done about that. And Tim is correct about there are areas that you can't have the high buildings because of the FAA restrictions. And yes, we could use a note taker.
actually, when I signed on, Zoom asked me to take minutes, to do AI minutes. So it may have.
Jessica. Hi, Stephanie and Caroline.
Hey, Jessica.
Meanwhile, sorry, I've been listening. I have like 2 different AI note takers that you can use, and then I have it summarized. I can show you later, and it's pretty cheap. If you don't have anybody and you need notes, because I don't type notes anymore.
Oh man, that sounds great.
Just let you know.
But Zoom offered it. It's called Read AI Meeting Notes, and we'll see what happens with it.
That's what I'm using right now too.
Cool.
I'm
Sweet.
using right now for this, so I could send it to you. All right, sorry, I just hopped in for that. I'm just listening.
Thank
I've been
you.
waiting so long, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have to do the minutes? I'm excused. Okay.
Kind of,
all
sort
right.
of, no. Yes, maybe. Let's see. We've lost our secretary because she's running for city council. Thanks to Allison Hewitt for running for council, and thanks to her for being the secretary for the last couple of years. We also lost Tila, who was she was our board member at large, but she has become a developer, so we had to see her go too. So if anybody's interested in volunteering for these positions, please reach out to somebody at info@thantampa.com. We would love to have you. They're not terribly cumbersome jobs. I think the secretary is a little bit more cumbersome, but if we get this AI thing working, it's going to be even less so. And of course, it's all on video and videotape. You can go back and watch it at your leisure, listen to it in 1.5 and get everything that way. And YouTube actually has a, what do you call it? A transcript as well. So it's not like it used to be where you had to listen to everything again. There are 4 budget meetings this month. I just want to make sure everybody's tracking. We had 2 of them on Monday. We had one at 9 a.m. and one at 5 p.m. The one at 9 a.m. covered enterprise funds. and that arts funding, I still don't know what they did with that. Last year they spent like 4 or 6 hours discussing it, and I was kind of annoyed with them for spending so much time on it last year. But I don't even think they figured out where they wanted to spend the money yet. And then there is one on September the 3rd and one on September the 16th. The comp plan comes back on the 28th at 5 p.m. It's not during the day, it's at night. It'll be a long night. Don't forget, if you haven't rode the bus yet, you should go ride Route 1. It's free. Learn how to get on the bus and ride it through town. We went to Shuffle, got on the bus there, rode it around, and came back to Shuffle and had lunch just to get to experience riding the bus a couple of months ago. Make sure that your neighborhood signed up for the CARES newsletter and that you guys are receiving good neighbor notices so things don't sneak up on you. Let's see. The city of Tampa. Okay, so committees for the city of Tampa. I've got committee recommendations for Than, and if somebody's interested in starting a committee, then more power to them. Just let us know what you're interested in doing. We will support you on it. The other side of that coin is the city has committees and they have boards that they need volunteers for. And we've learned the hard way that if we are not putting forward neighborhood leaders, that we will get a really, really biased committee or board. So we want to make sure that you guys are following that. And I know they put Sue Ling on being in charge of taking the applications and making sure the applications are posted properly. And so I need to follow up with her this week and make sure that we are we're getting the correct links.
Yes, thank you.
If you're interested in volunteering, if nothing else, send city council, whoever your favorite council person is, whoever you feel like you have the closest relationship to, send them an email and say, hey, I would like to volunteer for something. Please let me know if there's an opportunity. Because like right now, they are cultivating a charter commission, a charter review commission.
Oh, cool.
If that's your jam, if you like the wordsmith, then it's going to be that'll be an interesting one. I know that I've talked to at least 4 of the council members already about who's doing what, and some of them already have some ideas about who they'd like to have represent them. So keep up with that. That's something that's coming up. And then the last thing that I had on the agenda is Bill Carlson's going to be here to speak in September. Guido is going to be here in October. Chief Bennett, November. December, we're off. January is the Fans of Than meeting. And of course, anything that anybody else wants to discuss, argue about, smack people in the teeth for, let me know. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Questions, comments, concerns?
Lots of concerns.
You could do that, raise your hand.
Bueller? No one? Well,
Yeah, we wanted to report too that we've been to at least one virtual meeting.
They're all
With-
virtual.
They're all virtual on the noise issues,
Noise ordinance
noise ordinance,
Okay.
and how things are going, and
with the TPD.
with TPD.
You know, I haven't seen anything about noise ordinances meetings. Nothing.
They're trying to get feedback from the community about how it's going, how the enforcement has been going. So they're going to take that and try to see if they can tweak the noise ordinance again.
Okay.
Perhaps if they get enough feedback that we still need to improve on the noise. And a lot of people did in that first meeting talked about mobile noise, car mounted noise. So that's an issue that they've got to deal with for sure throughout the city.
Anything else? Anybody want to make a motion?
More, you good?
I make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All right, y'all.
You gotta say all those in
Right.
favor.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Y'all have a good
Aye.
night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.